I have a problem with resting bitch face. If you have resting bitch face and you know it, it's your problem. And it's a hindrance to your life because it makes everyone who interacts with you question whether you really want to interact with them.
Huh.
And I've talked about this. It's not actually a good thing. People brag about it. You hear girls go, well, I just have resting bitch face.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, it's going to cost you a lot.
Huh.
It's going to cost you relationships. It's going to cost you business. It's going to cost you all sorts of interactions with people. It's going to cost you financially. It's going to fucking cost you. It's not a good thing. Learn to be nice to people. Smile at people. Say hi. If you have resting bitch face, it's a fucking problem. There. How's my rant?
It was good. It was good.
Yeah. Stop it. People don't want to talk to you. So what are we? Episode 151?
Yes, sir.
Of It's Just Bodybuilding. Scott McNally and myself, Big Ron Partlow. Dusty Hanshaw is he laying on a beach? He's laying on a beach, isn't he?
Yeah, I have a feeling right now at this moment. Though he does have his phone on him. We know that because he texted us back.
Right. Okay. Well, maybe if we need, we could try to do a phone a friend. But
people loved that phone a friend when we
and
you had like the perfect answer too. You had thought about that for years.
You know why they liked it?
Why's that?
Because I answered. It's real lame if you try it and a guy doesn't answer. Then you just look like a fool.
That's true. Yeah.
You know, I don't know if Dusty's got something. Maybe he's doing something better than answering my call. You know?
Yeah.
He's like laying on a beach, you know, drinking a margarita and iPhone him. He's going to be like,
fuck those
I don't
guys.
know.
Yeah.
Fuck those guys. And then we look like fools, right?
That's true. That could happen. So it's a risk, but we do have editing. So there is that.
I know. It's still, you know, it would just eat me alive.
Yeah,
rings like 10 times. It goes to voicemail. You know,
we would know even if we edited it out. You know.
Yes. I want to start off. I want to send a shout out to Canadian Beef Podcast with Robin Strand and Morgan McDonald.
Oh, nice.
I was on their show last week, and It was a lot of fun. I like those guys. They're both great guys, and I just wanted to say thanks for having me on. And even got to talk about music a little bit. You know how I like when people bring that up. So they definitely knew how to have some fun, and it was a good time. So
we actually got it. Guys. Somebody messaged us. Here it is. Chris had said to us, "Get Big Morgan on the show, guys. They want to see Morgan here."
Oh, yeah.
So
okay.
Maybe we'll make that work out at some point, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I think I can probably, talk him into stuff.
All right.
Okay. So, yeah, we got a bunch of YouTube questions. I know that you said we had more YouTube than you thought we could even get to. What do you think happened? It just exploded?
It was that Dusty asked. Dusty did this like real Dusty thing. It was like a real matter of fact kind of just, and hey, he said something like, and hey, if you comment with questions, we'll answer them on a podcast just like this one. And the way he said it, right. I think that everybody was just like, you know what? I want my question on a podcast just like this one.
It was a psychological manipulator.
Yeah. I think that's what it was.
I've seen it.
You've experienced, you've lived it.
Yeah, he's talked me into many things.
Yeah.
Okay. But as I've gotten older and more mature, I've been able to talk him out of certain things. So that's also helped.
That's what makes you a good friend too,
Trying, Yeah. Okay, let's get a YouTube question.
All right. So like you had mentioned, we have a ton of them. I wanted to start with this one. I pulled this one out of the group because I thought it'd be a good question for really both you and Dusty. But maybe we can ask Dusty at another point. But the question was, for the next episode, what qualifies someone to be a bodybuilder versus just a guy who lifts weights? To be a bodybuilder, do you have to step on stage and compete, or does living the lifestyle count just the same? To me, if you go to the gym and casually lift a couple times a week, you're not a bodybuilder. But if you dedicate yourself to the diet and training hard with the results you're after, you can call yourself a bodybuilder even if you're not stage worthy. What are your thoughts?
This is an age-old question. At what point do you get to be a bodybuilder?
Yeah.
Right? You get to be called a bodybuilder, call yourself a bodybuilder. So, you know, there's different ways to look at it. I mean, I could go pretty deep on this one. You know, should you be pigeonholing yourself as one thing? You know, is that something that you want to do? Do you just want to be a bodybuilder? Is that all you want to say you are? You know, or is bodybuilding something you do and something that's a part of you? And trust me, I've been through that full spectrum. I mean, I lived those years where that's what I was on the bodybuilder. That was the only thing I identified as, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that's necessarily the healthiest or the best way to approach anything, you know. Trying to take the labels off. Everyone wants to categorize themselves nowadays. Like, how many groups am I a part of?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sort of feeling like maybe I have some rejection of that. And I don't really want to, I just want to be free to not be like, you know, forced to always be Ron the bodybuilder, you know, and I'm seeing that now as I get older. But I always like to look at bodybuilding as an activity that you do. Like, recreational bodybuilders make up 90% of the market.
Yeah, I'd have to think.
Who consume bodybuilding content and bodybuilding related supplements and go to bodybuilding expos and like bodybuilding and know who Brandon Curry is.
Yeah. And,
you know, like, of all the people that do that, I mean, most of them don't compete, you know?
Sure.
And I always just thought bodybuilding was an activity. Like, you could be, you know, a lot of things and also into bodybuilding, and you like to do some bodybuilding, you know? Yeah. I don't feel like that term is restricted or it's like only reserved for real bodybuilders. Yeah. I like that I like it when lots of people call themselves bodybuilders. It's positive. You know, there's lots of people who work out and they're fit and they watch what they eat and they're trying to put on some muscle and they want a little bit bigger arms and they're training their calves because they want their calves bigger, but they don't want to be called bodybuilders. Sure. And that's our fault. Right? That's bodybuilders' fault. They should want to call themselves bodybuilders. It should be a positive thing. They should be like, yeah, I'm, you know, Joe, the physical therapist, and I like to snowboard on weekends and I love to work out and I love having my abs and I want to get my squat up and I want to get bigger arms. Yeah. He should be able to he should be comfortable saying, yeah, I like to bodybuild. Yeah. But a lot of those people don't want to say it. And that's you know, it's because of the negative connotations. They're bodybuilding. They've got a tub of whey isolate in the cupboard. Yeah. They've got a fucking dishwasher full of shaker cups.
You know what, too, though? I feel like it also, let's say this guy who's, you know, the physical therapist or whatever decides he calls himself a bodybuilder. I feel like other people might look at him. Let's say he's 175 pounds and he's not a big guy. Yes, he is building his body. Yes, he is a bodybuilder. But I also feel like there could be a level of judgment too. Like, you're not that big. Like, I could see that happening to him. You know what I mean? You don't look like a bodybuilder to me.
Yeah, as most people's misconceptions is that bodybuilders are huge. Yeah, but it's just the huge ones that are huge, you know. But I don't know. I like the idea of recreation. I always use the term recreational bodybuilder. Like, I have so many of my friends who are recreational bodybuilders. Yeah, you know, they go to the gym 4 times a week. They've got their whey protein. They take some meals to work. If they miss a workout because their kids got hockey, they miss a workout, whatever. But they're going to get in there next week and, you know, they're recreational bodybuilders. They're doing almost everything we do, you know? Sure. A lot of them are even, you know, TRTing and buying a bottle of Deca here and there. So they're totally bodybuilding, you know? But just because they're not going to compete doesn't mean they're not bodybuilding. Yeah. That's how I look at it.
I even, like, with my bikini clients, I reference them as bodybuilders. You know,
they're bodybuilding. Yeah.
What we are doing is bodybuilding. It might look different for them than, say, for you or me, but it, you know, that still is bodybuilding. I'm with you, like, 100% on that. I don't feel like it should be like this elitist thing where, like, you have to compete before you can call yourself, you know, a body, before you know what it even means, you know, something like that.
I always said competitive bodybuilder when I wanted to be clear. Yeah. About what I meant. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you know, I would say, oh yeah, you know, most, you know, my best training partners weren't all competitive bodybuilders. Some of them were recreational bodybuilders, like I'll say stuff like that to kind of differentiate.
It's funny. I met what's his name? Oh gosh, Zach Kahn. I met him when I was when I was in England. He's still a big dude. Like he's still training.
Oh, he's big for life, man.
Yeah, and his legs are back. Like he's able to squat again and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And his training partner, he was like, "Yeah, I don't train with bodybuilders." He was like, "I train with this guy. I forget the guy's name. He's a really nice guy though." And I turn and look at him, and he's literally the size of Zach. He's like, "Oh yeah." He's like, "No, I'm not a bodybuilder." I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Well, I don't compete." The dude was the size of a house. He had to be like 260, something like that. He's keeping up with Zach Kahn.
Yeah. That's kind of funny. Well, maybe he just wants to make sure that people understand he doesn't do what Zach does,
Yeah.
It's interesting.
All right, I'll see what else I've got here. Oh, we had this one. I think a lot of people run into this. He says, "I'm a former fat ass, making the transition from strongman to men's physique. How worried should I be about loose skin on stage? My plan is to come in with top tier conditioning in hopes that the judges will look past it. I'm completely new to this style of training, nutrition, competing, so I'll be asking a lot of questions." So we'll see you soon, I'm sure, Justin.
Well, yeah, thanks, Justin. We love the questions. Keep them coming. It just depends on what the situation is. Like, how much loose skin are you talking? Are you talking like some wrinkles on your abs and your lower back? Because I've seen guys like, win Masters titles and all sorts of shit and look fantastic and blow people away in the back double. And so, maybe they're, 55 with some loose skin, or maybe it's a guy who lost 100 pounds, but he's really only got a bit of loose skin around his midsection and his legs are actually pretty tight. And I've seen all sorts of different physiques and bodies, thousands and thousands of bodies. So it's really hard to say. And then other people, there's just nothing they can do. They've lost so much weight that there's really no way they're ever going to, get the look they're after. And so, it just depends on the situation. I guess you have to be honest with yourself. And, the one thing is that when dealing with this sort of stuff and trying to gauge where you are on that spectrum, I think it's important to realize that sometimes something's just not going to be possible because of the situation you've already been through. Right.
True.
So I know we we all live by the, never put limits on yourself. Anything's possible. So, you can get in the best shape you could ever dream of getting in, and you can get on stage and compete. Yeah. That is always it. That's always up to you. But whether or not that is going to be competitive or not, you have to just be realistic with yourself, So, some people do competitions now specifically just to celebrate their transformation.
True.
That happens a lot now. So, and I've also seen people under certain circumstances be the most inspirational person in the whole show. And people are talking about them because of how amazingly they transformed and how well it turned out and all that stuff. I've seen people blow people away with what they've managed to do. So you just never know. You never know till you do it. But, it just depends on where you're at on that spectrum.
Yeah. And I think too, because I think we, as coaches, we've probably both dealt with this a bunch of times with people. I'm sure you have. And you don't know how it's going to shake out, but there's a chance, to give them hope too. It may tighten up. It might.
Yeah,
I've seen
that's
crazy.
Never give up hope.
Yeah, I've seen crazy amounts of skin tighten up. Guys, once you get the fat out and that skin doesn't have that pressure on it anymore. That more time. Even after that's gone, it might still tighten up some. So there's that.
Time is the key.
Yeah.
Time's the key. If someone's worried about loose skin, they shouldn't be dieting for a show. They should be lifestyle dieting already.
Yeah.
Never bulking, already always trying to get body fat off of them. You know what I mean? It's not like you can just do a 4-month diet like everybody else.
True.
You got to diet and then stay lighter for a year.
Yeah.
And your skin will tighten up over time, and then you can prep next year and you'll have a completely different look.
Yeah.
But, you know, if the mentality of like off season has to be non-existent. If you're formerly obese and you've got loose skin, there is no off season. You're permanently going to be like really eating to be lean and change your body like in that respect. And you got to do lean gainer off seasons and, you know, really keep it tight, you know.
Yeah.
Just a different reality.
And I think too, the other, like I could say a lot, but I'll just add two little things. One, I think it's easy to just focus on that and then be like, oh, well, I'll never be able to fix this, you know, this loose skin.
Right.
But not thinking about, well, all the other stuff that you can do. Like I can still have incredible abs. Like you said, your legs could still look shredded. So yeah, there's that. And then the other thing is too, I've actually seen people that have been able to tape it, like to pull skin and tape it under their trunks to be able to hide some small, you know, imperfections.
I helped a guy once who had a very serious loose skin problem around the glutes and abs.
Okay.
And he was a very hard worker, and he was very adamant that he wanted to do the show, and he was very, very confident. And as I was dieting him, he was getting a lot leaner, and he had a lot of muscle. Like he had the yoke, like he was a yoked bodybuilder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He had big legs, you know, big traps. He's a big guy. He's a heavyweight, I think. And he told me, don't worry about the loose skin. I'm going to tape it.
Okay. And
I'm like, okay, like I'm not an expert in that at all. Like I've never taped anybody's loose skin. He's like, no, don't worry. I know what I'm doing. I'll take care of it.
Okay.
And I was like, okay. So anyways, I dieted him down as like, he literally had striated glutes, and like he was in great shape. I was blown away with how lean and muscular he got, but he had a ton of loose skin and it looked really bad. And then I just, you know, he just said, don't worry about it. And he showed up the next day.
Yeah.
And I couldn't fucking believe how good he looked with his posing trunks on. Like he did magic.
Yeah.
He did magic with tape.
That's badass.
Like, I don't even know how he pulled it off.
Yeah.
I wish I had more photos. I can't, you know, just to show you, but it was one of the craziest things I ever saw. And he wound up like placing really well.
Yeah.
And it was like a level 1 show, but he wound up doing really good. And I just remember being like, you look fucking good on stage. Like I couldn't even believe it.
That's crazy, man.
You know?
That's cool.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't know this for a long time. I guess that because they'll do the surgery where they cut loose skin off for people that were exceptionally fat. I think
he'd already had some of that.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Guess that's a high risk surgery because your skin being an organ and there's so much of it that's being cut, like the incisions or whatever are going to be huge. And the more wounds you have, the more likely there is to get infections.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a big deal.
All right. Let's see what else we got here. Okay. Here's a fun one. I think it was question for the next show. If you had to eliminate one of the following foods for the rest of your life, otherwise your face would turn into an anus. I had to pause there for a minute, make sure I was reading that right. Would you eliminate pizza, burgers, or tacos, Ron?
Oh, tacos. I have no use for tacos. I don't care about tacos.
What?
Yeah.
Is that a Canadian thing?
I don't know. No use. Whatever.
I predict that you guys just don't make them good in Canada. That's not a very Canadian food. Maybe you feel different if you lived in like Arizona or something.
We got Taco Bell. we have like, you know, we have all the same like Mexican joints. Like we got Chipotle and we got like, you know, all those same places where you go and get the bowls and all that. But yeah, I never order tacos.
All right.
I just have no use for them. Never liked them.
That was an easy answer. We have so many.
I don't like it's like the messiest food.
Yeah, that it is.
Like I don't have the patience for messy food. Like I'll eat pizza and burgers are a different story. They're, you know, I eat my pizza with a knife and fork too, by the way. So
do you really?
Guy. Yeah.
I think it depends on the pizza.
Unless it's like foldable, like if it's pretty foldable and you know, like you're in a situation where you're at like a fucking event and you got a paper plate, I can eat it. I can eat it. Like I'm not a fucking, but if I'm at home and I got the choice, I like perfect cuts because I like to make sure there's equal amount of meat on every slice. You know how yeah. I like to manage. My knife and fork are more for pizza management.
Yeah, I can see that.
Management.
I can see that. We're learning stuff about Ron, guys. We're learning stuff about Ron.
And then, you know, if you get like a piece of crust that really has no sauce at all on it.
Yeah.
You can kind of like move it and dip it in the other pizza.
I never thought about that. I just take a bigger bite. Like, well, there is sauce over there. So,
yeah. See, I like things to go exactly my way. And when you bite into pizza, sometimes it drags topping off.
Oh, yeah.
And now I'm like, well, now that next bite is missing topping. There's been a management issue here. So I like to use a knife and fork because like I'm making the decision and it's final. Yeah. That made the cut.
Yeah. Right? Ron's Pizza Management 101 right here.
There you go.
All right. We had one about cardio. So I asked a follow-up to Kevin. He says, do you guys have a baseline cardio recommendation for people who, besides bodybuilding training, are otherwise very sedentary? I asked him what his current goals were, and he said, I'm asking just for lifestyle and health purposes. If you guys have anything, everybody should be doing at least some cardio.
I think lifestyle and health, if that's, I mean, I would do like 15 minutes of intervals 3 times a week. Get on the bike, get on the treadmill if you want, but I'd probably use the bike or whatever. You could walk hills on the treadmill and just go like, you know, real easy for 90 seconds and then real hard for 30 seconds and then real easy for 90 seconds and real hard for 30 seconds and just do that for 15 minutes because those little intervals are really great for metabolic thing. I mean, we know all about interval training and spiking your heart rate and, you know, post exercise calorie burn. And, you know, plus if you're trying to get like, you know, the whole like 30 minutes at 110 beats per minute, that's going to improve your ability to like walk around the mall all day and not get tired. Right.
Yeah.
But it doesn't improve your recovery after a sprint. Right. You know, which is like the real type of cardio. Like, you know, like if you want to go play with your kids and you want to go like do stuff and you want better cardio, then that's what you want to do. You want to do some kind of interval training because the whole like recovery afterwards is the part of the huge benefit.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I was going to say intervals over slow, steady state for heart. Yeah, you know, just intervals that cardio, heart health overall. Yeah,
cardio, heart health. And as far as like how much, that would be like I just said 3 times a week, 15 minutes, but it could be twice a week or fucking once a week would even be a benefit if you're also training like hard, you know?
Yeah.
So it depends on what he's also doing. But yeah, I would just say intervals. And then you don't have to spend as much time doing the bike, you know?
Yeah. What do you do for cardio? Because you stay so lean now.
Yeah, I haven't been doing any gym cardio.
Okay.
Occasionally I get on the bike and warm up my legs on leg day. I'll do like 10 minutes on the bike, but that's just to warm up.
Yeah.
I haven't been doing any in the gym cardio. I was getting on the Rogue Echo bike once a week and doing a few sprints. But I haven't done that in a long time. But I've been riding my bike a lot because it's not raining much here now. It's summertime.
Nice.
So I got in like 6 hours of riding last week.
Okay.
And you know, let's say I go ride for 90 minutes, I'll drink easy liter of water. And that's like, and I'll guzzle like a bunch of fluid before I drink. And then I'll drink a whole liter of water while I'm riding and I'll be completely drenched.
Okay. I bet.
Like soaking drenched. And when I get home, I'm like fucked. Like I lay on the floor.
Yeah.
Like my core muscles hurt.
Yeah. That's like a full body thing you're doing.
Yeah, and like, you know, and I'll have to like lay there and stretch my leg out because the inside of my hip feels like tight, you know, like it's hard. I'm like working hard. There's a lot of isometric contraction because you're trying to hold position.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of core. So it's exercise. Like it's like a major, and I'll be starving when I get back. It's like you just did 2 hours on a treadmill and an incline walk basically.
Right. But
that's
even
how it
more
is, you know,
I can only imagine what that. Oh, by the way, we got a kind of related to that. Here was a comment that I wanted to make sure I brought up. So now is a good time. Does Ron know that the greatest, coolest guitarist of all times, slash obviously, used to ride BMX before picking up the guitar? There's some cool footage of him on a BMX backstage in the 92 Use Your Illusion tour.
Yeah, I did know that. That's funny that he remembers that same footage because I saw that video as well. They did like a VHS like tour movie that they released back in like the day, and there's footage of Slash like ripping around the bus on a BMX, you know, and cruising around backstage. And I think he even like comes off there's like a 2-stair drop. I think he even like rides off the stairs, you know.
Yeah.
So he's not doing like flatland tricks or anything, but he's ripping around on a BMX. And I know I watched there's a Slash documentary that talks about him growing up in LA.
Okay.
And they like rode around on BMX bikes as kids. They like lived their life on BMXs. He was one of those kids, like him and all his friends lived on BMX bikes, and they like, you know, rode around the neighborhood on bikes, and they were like, you know, that was how they grew up. So he's got a BMX attachment for sure.
Let me ask you this. What would you say was their best record, Guns N' Roses?
Appetite for Destruction is still like,
it's
one of the greatest guitar albums of all time. I would even say maybe top 10.
Huh.
And it's maybe my favorite record of the 80s behind Back in Black, which is 1980.
It's
and
a very
80s Appetite
feel.
was 87.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the sound still holds up. It doesn't, like, you put it on now and it sounds fresh.
Yeah.
Like it's really well recorded and engineered, and the songs are so strong. Like every song on the album is strong.
It is.
And that's like, those albums are rare. Those albums don't get made anymore because there's no limit now. I've talked about this before, but the CD brought in, like, you know, you could put 90 minutes of music on a CD.
Is that right, what it is?
Originally,
I can't remember anymore.
Yeah, well, I'm not talking about but so that opened things up and albums got longer, and then you had more garbage tracks. But back before the CD, you had 43 minutes of vinyl. So your album had to fit on 43 minutes.
Huh.
Or else you had to do a double record.
Yeah.
Right? The only way, so if you're cutting an album, you got 43, I can't remember how many seconds, it's like 43 something fit on vinyl.
Okay.
And so you got to pick like 10 tight songs. And bands like Guns N' Roses, they go into the studio with like 25 songs, you know, and they got to fucking whittle it down to 10. So like you get these shit hot albums that are just front to back. Every single song is just super strong. And they're at their peak, and they're hungry, and they're not rich yet. And you know, Axl isn't obsessed with making sure there's a piano somewhere on the album. It's just a straight ahead, like LA hard rock. And there's also like a lot of punk in that era of Guns N' Roses, because they were like playing like with punk bands too.
I didn't know that, but I could see it.
Yeah, there's like a real punk element to them, you know?
Yeah.
Like the bass player Duff McKagan, he's like a punk rocker essentially. Because when he tells a story about when he joined the band, he like showed up to meet them.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, they're like, oh, you're like a punk, right? You know? So it's kind of funny, you know, how he was dressed and stuff at the time. So yeah, that's a great record.
Yeah, when I think about that record, I do that, like, to me, that encompasses like what the 80s, maybe it's just me because my attachments to it, but that's like, I think about that late 80s era. Like nothing else I can think of really connects that same way for me.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right.
Good question.
Got here. Here it is. Let's see. Ooh, this is the one for me. And Ron can talk about this too. I was thinking about getting a new subcompact. Scott, any recommendations on something ambidextrous, because I'm left-handed? Before we get into that, Ron, You got something to tell us.
That's funny. When he initially said he was looking for a subcompact, I was thinking like, well, like how big is a Ford Fiesta? Maybe he wants like a, maybe he,
I keep pulling my headphones out. Did you say? Were you going to say car?
Yeah. That's why he was like looking for a Ford Fiesta or something like that. You know?
Yeah.
I was like, subcompact. Yeah, gas is getting pretty expensive. You know,
he's
looking for a subcompact.
And I drive a Mini, so I was like, oh yeah, get a Mini.
So I got my Glock.
Yes.
I got it. It's, you know, it's in my possession.
How do you feel about that?
I feel good. I feel like I've done a civic duty.
Yeah.
To get licensed and have my firearm.
You're like a step away from being American.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty proud. I'm, you know, defending my home.
It's cool. You guys will have to get out there and shoot it now, and see what that's all about. I gotta hit
the range. I'm looking forward to sending some rounds.
Yeah, send some rounds.
Did I get that right?
You did. That was good.
Yeah.
You sounded like you've sent rounds before.
I'm gonna go send some rounds later. Yeah, I even bought iPro and EarPro.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I just give me something basic. I just need basic iPro and EarPro. You know.
Did you get electric EarPro? I hope.
No.
Oh, it's not that much more money. You can upgrade. Here's what you can do, and this is what somebody, a friend of mine, Peter, had told me. He said, now you have an excuse. Those can be, eventually the current headset will be your backups for when Emily goes with you, and then you can upgrade and get the electric ones.
Yeah. No, totally. Yeah. No.
They're nice because you can still hear.
I just wanted to get out there and send some rounds.
It'll be good.
I'm hoping to go. I might even be able to go this week.
Nice.
You know, I might even be able to go this week.
Nice.
You know, there's this one of my clients has, you know, quite a few firearms.
Yeah.
And he even said, we'll have to go shoot. And I was like, okay, well, at least I got someone who can, you know, take me and be my first time going like with my own gun, you know, like walking in with my fucking lockbox.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll make sure and tell you all about it. I know you're excited.
Yeah, I am, man. I would say, to answer his question, there are a lot of really good options. They have these, I've heard the term Wonder 9. There are a lot of good Wonder 9s out there today. In fact, mine's upstairs right now. Glock 43X. I'm not sure if it's ambidextrous. I believe it is. But that's a good one, because nowadays it used to be that like all the 9mm you'd get like 6+1 and it wasn't really a good gun. Now this thing holds 15 rounds with an aftermarket magazine, or I know the SIG 365 XL. That would probably be my choice. I don't know.
So what constitutes a subcompact? How short does it have to be?
Is it
length? Is it about
both.
Length?
It's both. It's the length and it's the width. So with like the handle, it's a single stack handle in the Glock 43X. So it's much more narrow, and the handle doesn't stick out that far. So it's a lot easier to carry.
So just so people understand, a normal magazine like the one I have, the bullets would be in the magazine like this.
Yes.
So there's a little more. So the handle's thicker.
Yep.
And there's more bullets in the magazine. But if you want a skinnier handle, you have to stack the bullets like this.
Yes.
So you get fewer. Correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
But because the Glock magazines are polymer, it's a thicker wall. A company called Shield Arms came out with a metal magazine, and because those walls are thinner, they were able to double stack in that same pistol. So now you can put 15+1 in that Glock 43X.
Right.
So, but I'm thinking.
Would you ever recommend like a small revolver? Is that ever an option? If someone's like, what's he looking for? Is it for protection? Like, in what situation is a revolver like a cool choice?
They're good for pocket carry, because you
right.
You know, that would be easier for pocket carry. But I honestly, because when I first got back into guns, that was my thought. I was like, I'm going to get a revolver. It's simple, it's dependable. But with the quality of automatics that they have nowadays, I would say that they're very slow. The revolver would be very slow, and it's going to be very limited. You might get 5 rounds in it. And it sounds like a lot, you know. Our president here in the U.S. says you only need 1, but, you know, you better be a really good shot with that 1 round. And you better hope it's just one guy that's coming at you, that you need 1 round,
right.
and that first one works. So, yeah, I'd say automatic is good. But, yeah, SIG 365 XL or that Glock 43X, I think they're both ambi, so I'd check those out. I'm excited for you to get out there, though, Ron. It'll be good.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll have some fun.
All right. How about this one? Back to bodybuilding. Broomsticks. The twists with the broomsticks. Will that give you a bigger waist, as Chris Aceto said on RX Muscle? That Serge Nubret would do thousands, and none for his tiny waist. Great show. Mass from... So I guess his name is Mass from the UK. There we go. But you get the point on the rest of it.
Yeah. So, no, broomstick twists aren't going to make your waist big. People are super worried about making their waist big. And, I mean, some of the craziest deadlifters I know have small waists, and some of the heaviest squatters I know have small waists. And, I mean, does Chris Bumstead blow his waist out?
Yeah.
You know, all these like bikini girls and figure girls are all squatting and deadlifting. You know, so that's not really a concern. I think if you're trying not to blow your waist out, there's technique things that you have to concentrate on, like keeping your core tight. I see guys on the leg press just ballooning their guts.
Yeah.
Like when they go to push, their guts just balloon out and they drive again. You know, they're not keeping their core tight when they're driving. And that's like, I think that over time, guys literally blow their waist out by not controlling their core when they're doing stuff like that. You've seen what I mean.
Think about power lifters. They intentionally do that, you know?
Yeah, they intentionally do that, you know?
And they do then end up with thicker waists.
Yeah. So, but you see guys like Bumstead deadlifting, he's keeping his core. Like I see him deadlifting, there's nothing going on in the gut. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just you just have to be conscious of what you're doing. And then I think the food and the drugs and stuff play a big role.
Yeah.
But doing broomstick twists, no. Look at all the martial artists. Look at Bruce Lee. He did like 1,000 sit-ups a day.
Yeah.
You know, it's, people need to train their waists. I think people should be training their waists more. I think I got away with not training my waist because the way I trained put a lot of stress on my midsection, and I didn't use a belt for everything. So that probably helped. But I think that when you have a weak waist, that's when it distends more. Like guys that have distended abs on stage and all that stuff, I think their core is weak.
Yeah.
The last thing they should be doing is I still can't get behind the waist trainers. I'm just not a believer.
Yeah. I don't think they do anything. But you know what I've heard people say that
I know some people are big on it, but
some people will say this, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. Some people will say, if you use a waist trainer, it reminds me to hold my stomach in. And I'm like, I hear that too. And it's like, okay, I guess I can get behind that, but I don't see it as like actually changing anything.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So if something gives someone a psychological benefit, or it triggers them to be conscious of something, then that's a benefit. But it doesn't mean that the thing is magic or that it's doing anything on its own.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that just kind of is like, I think that's like a good way to sort of like, you know, what is it? Correlation doesn't equal causation, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm just not a believer that I see people training with their waist trainers on super, super tight. And I just think that their core, that just tells me their core is super, super weak.
Yeah, could be for sure.
Like you're deactivating your core. Like it's turned off. You've put this cinch around your waist. You've turned off all those muscles. So at best, you'll help atrophy your core muscles.
Right.
Which might make your waist smaller. But I'm just not sure that that's a good chain reaction to start. Having a super weak core is never a good thing.
I think you're right about this, the blowing your stomach out thing. And I've seen real skinny people who don't ever have to think about their stomach. They get into bodybuilding and they don't necessarily have the same core control as, other people. I've seen that happen.
Yeah.
I've seen it in myself from, having gotten sick and not being able to get like good air in. I started relaxing my stomach. So now that's something I'm personally working on, because I would just let it hang out, push the air out and belly breathe. And I noticed, I was like, that's not looking the way I wanted to. So it's something I'm personally working on.
I think that towards the end of my competitive years, when I did feel like my waist got bigger, I think that the body weight I was at and the amount of abdominal off-season bloat that I carried around was the reason. I sort of took it for granted that every single time I dieted down, my waist got super small and shredded. And I just thought, I'm just never going to have a problem. And just years went by and then there was no problem. And then all of a sudden, like one year, I was like, I think my waist got a little bigger. And I was like, I guess that's eventually going to happen when you're just ramming food and just training so heavy. But it took a long time, but I think it was just pushing hard on all that stuff that made my waist bigger.
I'm going to make a note right here because I feel like I want to add a picture in post production. I feel like some of our listeners who maybe haven't seen your contest pictures might not realize just that you really did have a very small waist. And I think that it's kind of deceptive because of your size. Like just sitting here watching you on the podcast right now, I'd be like, he's a really big dude. He's probably very, rectangular shaped. I could imagine you would have a thicker waist than what you actually did. Like you had a very small waist, which is, I think, very unique for a guy your height.
Right. Yeah. That was like one of my advantages was that I had like a small waist, especially for my shoulder width.
Yeah.
There were a lot of guys that had like bigger arms and all that stuff, but my V taper helped me a lot. So yeah, we can find some photos. I'll send you something.
All right. Yeah, please do. All right. And I'll jump to the next one here. This is from Risto Saul. He says, everyone says that you should be making gains. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about this one while on TRT, on a TRT dose. Say you have reached your natural limit. Now, how are you gonna make significant gains with low doses when the first reason why you started gear was because you couldn't progress naturally?
Well, he's got a good point. Like everyone says, you should still be making gains on HRT, but obviously that's going to come to a limit eventually. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I think when people say that stuff, what they're actually talking about is like off-season post-show. Like the new there's a not a new thing, but it's like the old thing. But the idea that I sort of like is to try to get as much out of your off-season as you can on very little gear. But I wouldn't say HRT. I'd say you try to get the most you can out of 400 tests, and then you go to 500 tests. Like you try to get the most you can out of that.
Yeah.
So I would replace HRT with low sensible doses of test. You should be able to make gains on low sensible doses of test. But HRT gains are eventually going to come to an end for most people eventually, especially if you've already run a bunch of cycles. There's not going to be a lot of room. But I mean, I don't know what to say. My best deadlift ever was on 16 weeks of cruising.
No kidding.
But I was actually trying to get a better deadlift.
Okay.
For the first and only time, I really actually tried to up my deadlift purposely.
Was that also the year that your waist was wider? Just curious if we have a correlation here.
No, it was a little bit before that. I felt like it was.
Okay. What about,
I'll send you something here.
I think that here's a thought. I think that first of all, I've heard a lot of people saying that on the podcast here recently on our various shows. We've talked about it on Blood, Sweat, and Gear. I know Nate Spear had mentioned it. And we get some... we got an ab shot here. Hold on a second. Let me bring this up. Oh, it came through very small, but I can blow that up. Your abs. Is that you?
Yeah.
I can't even hardly tell. It's a very small picture. Your abs look peeled, but I still don't even think this is the best ab shot I've ever seen of you. Your abs are.
It's just one I had on my phone.
Okay, guys, I'm going to get another one because you were like shoulder. It doesn't show the shoulder to waist that I know.
There, I just sent you another one.
There's a good one. Yeah, that shows us how. Let's see if I can blow that up. That shows us, how small your waist really was. When was this?
That would have been 2008.
Okay.
So it was one of the nationals that I did.
Nice.
So I was like 200, I think it was 255 there.
Nice. I was going to say, though, I feel like, so we've had a lot of people say, you got to be able to keep growing in the off season without being on cycle. And I think we've gotten a lot of people who get upset, it seems, because we always get comments against that idea. I think one thing we have to remember is that when you're not on cycle, you're not going to grow as fast. A lot of people haven't tapped out their genetic potential. I think, sure, if you have, then you're probably not going to be able to continue growing. But my thought would be is that if a natural guy can gain maybe a pound or two per year on like stage weight after he's been, training for some time, then if we're on TRT, a good, dose of TRT, there's no reason we can't still progress. It's not going to look the same though. You're not going to gain 10 pounds on your back, while on TRT. Yeah. But the idea being that instead, it used to be that we would do a cycle, grow, and then we would end the cycle and then lose. Like at the very least, you should be staying the same and working your ass off and still eating and focusing. And I do think that you can keep growing, especially like I think he was a men's physique guy that commented. Your men's physique,
there's
go
so
for
many,
it, dude,
There's so many factors. Like where are you on the spectrum of gains already?
Yeah.
All
right. That's my soapbox round.
There you go.
What about smiling? Do you really get docked for not smiling? I want to compete, but I have no intention of forcing a goofy fake smile. I have really bad RBF though.
Resting bitch face.
Oh, okay. I did. Thank you. Are they going to be cool with me giving them a death stare?
You don't get docked. Well, depends on what division you're in. Are you bikini? If you're bikini and you don't smile, you're fucked.
Yeah.
You get judged on your presentation head to toe, your hair, your makeup, everything. So you better be ready to fucking play the role if you're in that division.
Men's
Same
physique
with men's
too.
physique.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's part of it. If you don't want to pretend, then you shouldn't even be on stage because it's literally an act.
Yeah.
It's a performance. Like if you don't, bodybuilding, you don't have to smile. But I would highly recommend you fix your resting bitch face. I have a problem with resting bitch face. If you have resting bitch face and you know it, it's your problem. And it's a hindrance to your life because it makes everyone who interacts with you question whether you really want to interact with them.
Huh.
And I've talked about this. It's not actually a good thing. People brag about it. You hear girls go, well, I just have resting bitch face.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, it's going to cost you a lot.
Huh.
It's going to cost you relationships. It's going to cost you business. It's going to cost you all sorts of interactions with people. It's going to cost you financially. It's going to fucking cost you. It's not a good thing. Learn to be nice to people. Smile at people. Say hi. If you have resting bitch face, it's a fucking problem. There. How's my rant?
It was good. It was good.
Yeah. Stop it. People don't want to talk to you.
I never thought about that. I always thought of it as like something I thought it was like something you couldn't control. But you're telling me that you can take the power back.
You're absolutely responsible for every single thing you do, say, and put out into the world. It's your own fucking problem. Resting bitch face isn't a good thing. Try to fix it.
I like it.
There you go.
That's good. I wasn't expecting
Try to
that.
look like you want to be on stage. Try to win the crowd.
Yeah.
Jay Cutler said you win the crowd, you win the show.
Yeah, if you look unimpressed and you don't look like you're trying, they're going to be like, this guy's not even trying. He doesn't even look like he wants to be here. You got to be engaged.
You don't have to smile.
Yeah.
You don't have to fake a smile, but like
be engaged.
do what actors do.
That's good.
You know,
that's good.
You're going out on stage, put on a show in front of people, make them want to watch you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get so triggered.
It's good. I liked it.
You know,
I totally didn't expect it either, though.
Bothers me.
All right, let's talk about some drugs.
Yes.
How does 500 milligrams of Primo, 300 milligrams of test sound per pre-contest, adding 40 milligrams of Anavar at 6 weeks out?
How does 500 Primo, 300 test sound for pre-contest? Well, I mean, sounds fine. I mean,
yeah,
you know, sounds fine. It's not crazy lunatic doses. You know, if that was me, I'd probably be running 500 tests, 300 Primo, but that's just how I always thought.
People like the higher DHTs now. That's like a thing.
Yeah. But they also have more. They also have terrible blood work when they're done too.
Yeah.
So there's that. You know, remember DHTs? I think they're just fucking terrible for your cholesterol.
Huh.
I see it all the time. Why is my cholesterol so fucking bad? Well, you've been on Primo for 6 fucking months.
Yeah.
You know, so you could be careful with that stuff. But that's a good cycle. Like the doses are totally. I mean, you're not even at a gram a week, so it's like, thank God.
Yeah.
You know, the Anavar will probably be a good kicker. You know, contest time. Got to look good.
How about Primo or Masteron? Because they're kind of similar.
Yeah. I guess technically Masteron's probably stronger milligram for milligram. I say you might probably know more about that than me.
You know what? All the stuff like the anabolic ratios.
Yeah.
I learned all that years ago and then I forgot it. And my thought is that I forgot it because it isn't something I've needed for the past 10 years. You know, once you understand how compounds work, that's more important than knowing what something looks like on paper. But I do feel like Masteron is stronger than Primobolan is. Yeah. It gives a more dramatic, drier effect.
Well, Masteron also has an anti-estrogen property to it. Which is,
I think that
that's
Primo
why it's got mast in the name, you know.
I think Primo does as well. I think that will. Okay. And I think you'll even get that from like Winstrol too, to an extent. But yeah, I'd go with I asked it was kind of a loaded question because I knew what I would want to do. And I would want to do the Masteron personally. Plus, I don't know, I like Masteron for contest prep.
Yeah, people forget that. Drostanolone propionate, or Masteron, is an androgen and anabolic steroid medication which was initially designed to treat breast cancer in women, but is now no longer marketed. And that's why it's called Masteron, because, you know, mastectomy and all that. Mast is the root word of all the breast stuff, right?
Yeah.
So Masteron was why it's called Masteron. It was initially used to treat breast cancer, and the androgen effects were just too much, I guess. So they discontinued it for that purpose.
Huh.
But it was initially had an anti-estrogen effect, which is, I think, why bodybuilders love it for contests so much. And it makes sense on paper, you know?
Yeah. What was your go-to compounds for contest prep?
Well, it's funny. I sort of didn't. So Masteron, my only interaction with real Masteron was in the mid-90s. It would have been like 97 for my first show.
No kidding.
I got my hands on 10 amps of Masteron from Europe.
Okay.
I don't remember what the dose was. I think they were 100 milligram.
That sounds
amps.
Right.
And I just threw them into my cycle. I had a bottle of Winstrol and some Sustanon amps. And it was a 30 ml bottle of Vet Winnie, the Upjohn stuff, the good old days. So I had a 30 ml bottle of Winnie, and I think I took 3 mils a week for 10 weeks. That was my Winstrol.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the Sustanon started earlier, like 15 weeks out. So I did 5 weeks of just test, then I added the Winstrol.
Yeah.
And then I think I had 10 amps of Masteron. So I think I added like one every 5 days near the end. Yeah. I still have the book. I still have my logbook.
Do you really?
So anyways, that was the only Masteron interaction I ever had. And then I never saw Masteron again at all.
Really?
Until literally like, the early 2000 or the late 2000s, like 2007, 8, 9, underground Masteron started showing up everywhere.
Yeah.
And I never really bothered to use it.
Huh.
I don't think I used Masteron really for any of my shows.
No kidding.
But since then, Masteron, like, there's some underground labs that have really good reps around here. And there's some Masteron that's been fantastic. I mean,
yeah.
I've seen a lot of my clients and a lot of people use it, and fucking, was great. So yeah, I sort of missed Masteron. Yeah, I just caught the tail end of the real stuff, and then it didn't really pop up again for a long time.
So, I mean, you can do a contest prep with a lot of different compounds, obviously, and you could easily replace that with,
I loved
what,
Winnie.
like, yeah, okay, yeah, Winstrol.
Yeah. Winstrol was like I made sure I had good Winnie for every show. I was okay, I need like at least the last 8 weeks or something. I need good Winnie, and that turned into Winnie tabs when good Winstrol was no longer affordable or trustable. I never used any underground injectable Winnie. That was always any of the water-based stuff that was underground. I never ever used that because the risk of infection to me was just too crazy, and the shots were always terrible, and it just sucked.
Yeah.
So I just switched to oral Winstrol after the real stuff dried up.
Would you put Winnie in front of Tren for your own contest preps? Like as far as priorities go, if you had to pick one.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm probably wrong for certain things, like maybe you come in bigger on Tren.
It's your prep, Maybe
you come in bigger on Tren or whatever. But I'm just saying there's lots of shows I did with no Tren, right? The early days.
Yeah.
But I used Winnie for almost all of them, except for my poverty prep in 99. I didn't have any Winnie.
What did you have for that one again?
Just Sustanon and a bottle of Clen. And then a buddy gave me a handful of Halo tabs. Like a handful of tabs, like 18 tabs, I think it was.
Yeah.
So funny.
I never took a lot of Halo, but I liked it a lot. And then I ended up getting this little bottle about like that big. These little tiny tablets came in it. And I opened the bottle up. It was supposed to be like 50, which was like way more than I needed. And the bottle was filled to the brim. I was like, this isn't right. And I dumped it out and counted them. There was like 253 tablets. And it turned out the lab measured them by weight. They would fill it and it would weigh a certain amount. And that's when they would know that was heavy enough. And the machine wasn't calibrated. I found out because a guy I knew the source, and he sent a bunch of Halo bottles out that were just like filled up to the brim, probably spilling over, and then slap that cap on. So I lucked out. Got like way more Halo than I ever needed in my life. It was like a lifetime supply for 3 people.
That's funny. Yeah, more Halo than you'd ever want.
Right. All right, let's see. It could have been like GH. That would have been better. I'd take that.
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to say thank you to everybody because Dusty couldn't remember. He was thinking of a natural sweetener, monk fruit. And these are just a few of the many, many people who messaged us to tell us monk fruit. So thank you to everybody who commented to let us know.
IFBB Pro. Corey, who is that? What was his name? IFBB Pro. Corey. Throw that back up. I just caught that. Corey Curtis.
Shout out to him.
Thanks, man.
And Kathy Jackson below him is an IFBB Pro as well. So there we go.
There you go.
All
Damn.
Right. Look at that. You got pros listening.
I just think that's cool. If there's pros listening.
I agree. Okay. Have either of you guys experienced immediately post-contest that certain foods taste differently? Example, after my last show, anything sugary did not taste very good. It was strange. Huh.
So that's interesting. It makes me wonder if there's some psychological adjustment happening, which could be a good thing.
Yeah.
Like maybe they're just having an aversion now to stuff that's super sweet because you're just not used to it. But that's actually good. You don't want to it might be healthier for you to not override that by bombing yourself with sugar.
True.
Allow yourself to, and maybe it's good. Let yourself not eat as much sugar. There's nothing wrong with that. It's better for you.
You get more sensitive. There's that, like your taste buds, like if you don't eat carbs or you don't eat sugar and then you eat like an apple, it's like, oh my God, this is the sweetest thing ever. But if you're eating like Pop-Tarts all the time, it's just an apple.
And another thing is I don't really I think it is probably the bodybuilding and just being organized and all that stuff. But I don't really like messy food at all. I have an aversion to messy food.
We learned that today.
Yeah. But this is always in my life. If and it's been worse since bodybuilding, but if they're like, oh yeah, we're eating, and everyone's just piling food and fucking eating with their hands and slopping everywhere and there's napkins everywhere. I'm just I'm just going to leave.
Yeah.
I just don't like messy food. I want to sit down. I want to eat. I want to be tidy. I want my plate to be clean when I'm done. I don't want to have a bowl full of sauce left.
Yeah.
So I have an aversion to that. So I'm sure some of that got worse from all the contest dieting,
I bet.
Because you're eating such I just don't like a ton of sauce now. And I don't, I always get sauce on the side and then I can do my own sauce, one of those guys.
Hey, I'll give you a
There's
pro
people
tip.
watching that think I'm fucked up.
That's okay. We'll play it up. I have a pro tip for you. Next time you eat tacos, I didn't know this, but apparently Americans eat tacos wrong. And I guess what you're supposed to do is if you have the taco in your hand, we generally take that food and we bring it to our face. What you're supposed to do is bring your face to the taco.
To the taco.
Did you know that?
It would totally make sense.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. That way you don't.
Is it so? The Mexicans are the ones that are laughing at the people who don't know that.
Yes. I saw that on a cooking show once. So
that's funny.
All right,
so there is a taco place that, I don't hate tacos. I don't want people to walk away thinking that. I'm just
fuck this guy.
A lot of things. There's a lot of things ahead of tacos, but I recommend the pink taco. It used to be at the Hard Rock in Vegas, but they've changed the Hard Rock now. It's Virgin Hotel. I don't know if the pink taco is still there.
Oh, this is an actual taco place you're telling me about.
Yeah, the pink taco in Vegas. It's great. But I would always get the build your own fajita thing, so I could just pile the chicken and rice and do up the wrap and just
those are good. Yeah,
gorge that stuff. Yeah. So I do that.
All right, I had another important one, but I actually, when you said pink taco, I hit my keyboard laughing. And now I lost all my questions. It was a good one, too, related to... Hold on, give me just a second here. There's a smiling question. There's all those questions. Okay, here it is. All right. Okay, guys, here's an important one. When you take a gym pic, is it cheating to slightly adjust a few things before you post it? Maybe sharpen the image, adjust the contrast, highlights, or exposure.
Do whatever you want to your picture. You're a free man. You don't need to make any excuses for anybody. However, I do think that there's a huge problem with people deluding themselves by filtering the shit out of their pictures and then literally believing that that's how they look. And that's a deep psychological issue that has to have negative ramifications for them and society in general. If everyone walks around thinking they're way better than they actually are, that can't be good for society. Everyone thinks they're better than they actually are. That's just not a good road to be on. But that's why I tell people don't worry about how people look on Instagram. I went through that. I remember the early days of Instagram. I'd see these other guys and they'd look so crazy. And I'd be like, fuck, that guy's going to be tough. And then I'd get to the show and he'd get 8th.
Yeah.
And I'd be in the top 2 or whatever. And I'd be like, fuck, that guy looked crazy on Instagram. And I learned pretty early that it's just assume it's all doctored and a little fake.
Smoke and mirrors.
And smoke and mirrors, and just show up the day of the show looking the best you can. And I guarantee a bunch of those people won't look the way you expect them to look. And, you know, I don't filter any of my pictures. There's the only time that I feel that I can filter a picture is if I find an old shitty picture and I want to post it, like, oh, I got a photograph of a photograph.
And the quality is low.
Yeah, and maybe you just like brightness can make it like, oh,
yeah.
Well, there's the picture, like, or you just like move one dial and all the fucking glare kind of fades off, and you're like, oh, okay, well, that's decent. Or maybe it's a little dark, so you brighten it, and all of a sudden, like, you see like 80% more shit going on, and the guys beside you even look better.
Yeah.
So you're just trying to give a good picture. So if you ever see me post like a picture of a picture, sometimes but then even that's on my story. So all you get is really those swipe filters that are just like, you know, Los Angeles, Abu Dhabi, you know, those Instagram filters. That would be all I'd be using. That'd be the only ones I'd be using on a story. I never go through the trouble of filtering in another app and then bringing it over. That's just way beyond my level of fucking caring.
Yeah.
And I think there might've been a couple times where I posted a photo and I might have adjust brightness or something, but I know everyone does sharpness. What is it? Sharpness and structure.
Okay.
If you move, but then, you know, they fucked with the photo because they move them all the way up, and then everyone's face looks like stone.
Yeah.
And you're like,
yeah. If you look at somebody's picture in there, I don't know.
You can do something. You can do something like if you think you got to do something to a picture because the picture's shitty.
Yeah. That I'm down
maybe
with.
Maybe it's a really cool picture. Like it's you and one of your buddies on stage flexing, and you're like, fuck, the picture's just a little shit. Like, fine. Make you and your buddy look better. That's cool.
Yeah.
But this whole portraying yourself or posting your update shit all filtered.
If you're doing it,
update.
Have you ever gotten clients that have sent you update pictures that were filtered?
Yes, I've dealt with that before. I'm like, dude, this isn't helping you.
Yeah.
You know? And then I've had clients that are obsessed with good lighting. Like, they're like, oh, I got to send you some pictures. I'm like, send me morning pictures. And they're like, no, I want to send you the pictures from the gym. I'm like, no, just send me morning pictures. And I'm like, they're like, yeah, but the lighting in my house isn't good. And I'm like, that's okay. Like,
yeah, as long as it's bright enough, you know?
Yeah, I don't care.
You know, Andrew Barry has people use a ring light.
Yeah, ideally it's nice to.
And I had never done that, but I'm thinking about it because think about this, Ron. Where do the pictures get the worst? Like, you can get everybody, their pictures are great. Every time they check in, they're consistent. And then guess what? They go to the show and they're in the hotel and like the lighting sucks and they're trying to use the bathroom and now it's yellow and shitty and you can't even make out the detail. Yeah. If they had a ring light, it would be the same as when they were at home, you know? So
yeah,
I could see a benefit.
Yeah, great idea. Yeah.
All right. Well, we had a few. Actually, you know what, Ron? I think we just about powered through these. We got a couple more here. Let's see what else we got. 2 questions. Thoughts on using EQ during prep and when to pull it out if you do. Also, I noticed Mutant has a coconut cream isolate, which coconut cream is my favorite flavor of another brand. I was wondering, what your thoughts were on this Mutant flavor if you've tried it. Thanks for the great content.
So I used EQ for several shows. I was fine with it. I never had problems with it. EQ was like one of my favorite drugs. Yeah, all the way to the show. I used it several times. And that was sometimes just because, like, you look great. Yeah. Everything's going good. And you're 8 weeks out. Do you have to pull your EQ and switch to something else just because everyone says so? I just, whatever. It's in, you know. And also, too, everybody, don't underestimate when you have a good drug. Like, you're going to take out some awesome EQ for some Primo you've never used before, and it might be shit. Yeah. Right? So, like, we've talked about this before. Like, if you look great and the prep's going good and you're losing fat and your pictures are getting better and you're not, like, having side effects, or, like, I never had any side effects from EQ ever. Never had gyno, never had problems with it ever.
Yeah.
So don't take it out. You don't have to follow all these voodoo rules just because, you know, people, you know, read, oh, it's 8 weeks out, I got to drop this and drop that. Sometimes I just tell people, like, fuck. So cruise on, you know?
And I imagine Chris would have said the same thing if he was working with you at the time of those shows. Like if you were looking good at a month out with EQ, he'd just leave it. I assume
he did. I remember one time he said, he's like, well, you know, why would we pull that out? Maybe that's why you're still getting good pumps on low carbs. Like, who fucking knows? Just don't change anything, you know? So, yeah.
He's a smart guy. I would love to get him back on here, man. He's such a cool
he wants
guy.
to come back on.
Does he?
He actually texted me. Yeah, he texted me just last week. And he was like, hey, do you guys need, you know, another guest that half the people hate or something like that? I can't remember what he wrote. And I was like, yeah, we're always up for you.
You know, man, I got to tell you, and I mentioned it before, I think, but he's like one of the guests that I've been the proudest to have on our shows, honestly.
Yeah,
He's like, to me, he's that good of a guest. So I'm a super fan. That'll freak him out if I told him that. Hey, Chris, I'm a super fan.
He sent me a picture of a dude a little while ago. One of his fucking crazy shredded guys, right?
Yeah.
And he just you know, he's always got the funny, like making fun of himself sort of thing.
Yeah, of course.
And he goes, I don't even know this guy's macros.
He probably doesn't know anybody's macros. You don't need to know macros after you've got it rolling, right?
He's like, I don't know. Yeah, I know. I had a client ask me the other day, they're like, how many calories am I on? And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's like, well, if you had to guess. And I'm like, I don't know. I just pulled his diet up on my phone, and I just looked at it, and I go, no, I don't know, but I just know, like, that's how much food you're on.
Yeah.
And if we need to reduce it, we can just reduce that.
That's the way I do it too, you know.
You know, it starts to look too low, I'll count it. Yeah. Just see where we're at. You know?
Yeah. And the other question, the coconut cream flavor.
Oh yeah, the coconut cream.
I haven't tried that.
So yeah, all the flavors are awesome. All the IsoSurge flavors are awesome. So what I like to do is a scoop and a half of chocolate and then a half a scoop of coconut cream, and you get a Bounty Bar shake.
Ooh, that's nice.
I'm just saying.
All right.
That's a great idea.
That is good. We got a couple more here.
Sometimes.
Also, I had to tell you too, I had several people tell me that they really enjoyed the show while I was out in England. And I think that's extra cool to have been literally like halfway around the world and have people say, oh man, I love It's Just Bodybuilding.
Yeah. You would have people come up to you and mention it.
Yeah. So it was cool.
You know? That's pretty cool. Plus you have all the other podcasts. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What's of all the stuff you've done, is It's Just Bodybuilding the one that people mention the most?
It's a mix. Because some people really enjoy the entertainment.
Podcasts.
You know, some people really enjoy the entertainment, and other people are like, hey, I like all the steroid talk on drugs and stuff. And that's what they're into, right. You know? And then there's other people
So
like,
what was your blend on this trip?
It was all of them, really. Like, it really was. And especially, too, got to remember, too, because Dave is from England. So a lot of people knew Dave, and a lot of people discovered the podcast because, like, they were from England. They knew who Dave was. And that's how they found it. But we also had Jordan Peters on Advices Radio for like the first year. So people knew. Yeah,
you had lots of exposure there.
The channel through that, yeah. But it was kind of before Jordan was really big either. So there was that. But yeah, it was like early Jordan, you know. But yeah, it was a mix. And then some people like the science from Scott Stevenson. And that's like a very particular person who's like, I just like to learn for the sake of learning science, even if they're never going to apply it. And then some people like Blood, Sweat, and Gear because it's just like you're just talking to coaches about bodybuilding questions, and that's it, you know?
Yeah.
And Skip can say something retarded sometimes, which is also fun. So, yeah. But it was a blend. But, yeah, there were a lot of people who said that they really enjoyed this particular podcast. So, shout out to you guys.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right.
Okay.
Got a couple more, and I thought of it because I saw the beginning of this guy's comment. He said, been a fan of It's Just Bodybuilding since 2020. I've gone from it's just a comment, and I wanted to share it here. He says, I've gone from a 360-pound fat tub of mess to 237 pounds. I'm 6'2", natty, 31 years old, trying to get sub 200. Dusty and Ron have been two of my many dozens of people I looked towards for advice and education on training and dieting, and he just wanted to say thanks. His name is Eric Metz.
Oh,
shout out to him.
Great to hear that. I was just talking about this the other day, that like when people say that they got something out of this,
yeah,
that's the coolest thing. Like, first of all, even if they just have a laugh, like, that's awesome. If someone listens to our show and they have a laugh, I'm like, that's fucking cool. You know, if they listen to our show and they enjoy a story or they relate to something, it's all great. But when people like, you know, feel like they get something out of it, that's like it makes them want to get up and go work harder for some reason. That's just the craziest concept to me, that you know, we can help people do that. And I mean, I've talked to other people about, like, I've talked to other podcasters about this, you know, like, I mean, Fuad and I had a discussion about this when we saw each other at the Arnold. You know, I was just telling him, I'm like, you must just be overwhelmed, because his numbers are so crazy, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, you must just be overwhelmed with this shit. And he was, and then we just had this conversation about how, you know, some of the messages you get, and, you know, we get all the same messages. He probably just gets 10 times as many.
Right.
We get all the same. They're all the same. Like,
and most of them from the same people too, because we have a lot of crossover with people.
Yeah, a lot of crossovers, right? So we get all the same messages, and it's pretty crazy. You know, I have to. I'm not going to say his name. You know, I don't want to, you know, bring his name out, but I had this one guy who listens to the show, and he messaged me, and he's going through like a real rough period. His wife just left him, and all that stuff. And he's got a lot of money, so now she's, you know, coming for the money, and you know, it's turned. And she was way ahead of him, so she's all planned out, right? You know, he got like blindsided, and he's just having a tough time. And so he was messaging me and just saying, you know, like, you know, all the kind of positive sort of, like, you know, everything's going to be better, that we kind of put that vibe out on the show, you know? Yeah. And he just said that really helped. So that was really cool, you know?
That's cool. Yeah. I feel like it's important, man, that we use the podcast to be able to put that out there. You know what I mean? Because I think the world needs some happier stuff. Like, people have said to us, like, you guys need to use your podcast as a tool to talk about what's going on with the government. And I'm like, like, you get enough, you can go directly to find that in other places, and we'll talk about stuff at times, but the reality is, I feel like I want to try to add something positive to the world and make people feel a little happier, you know?
The reality of the situation is, there's the odd time I'll talk about politics, but I really try to not talk about it. I really try not to. And I try to not think about it. I've even reduced the amount of attention I'm paying to it. You know, there's only so much toxic nonsense I can handle. And I think COVID kind of peaked me out. I think I was more political than I'd ever been during COVID. And I saw what happened to a lot of the people that I'm friends with. They got like extraordinarily political.
Yeah.
And I just like, I just don't want to be like that. I don't want to use my podcast to talk about the shit that I don't even want to talk about in my normal life.
Right.
You know, just, yeah, that's where I'm at on that one.
All right. I have one more really important question. I actually pulled this out from the archives because we never answered it. Ephedrine. Is it Eff-a-drin or Ephedrine? Discuss.
I guess I sometimes say both. That's funny. I wonder if it depends on who I'm talking to. I guess generally I say Ephedrine.
Yeah. Or I might even say Ephedrine sometimes.
Oh, really? See, I think the Aussies say Ephedrine.
Ephedrine.
Is that the Aussies? Aussies can correct me. I know Aussies have a couple of funny words, like we say aluminum and they say aluminium.
They do that in England too.
Yeah, aluminium. Yeah. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
They're like, aluminium.
Yeah.
I built an aluminium shed in the backyard.
Who?
And you're like, what?
I feel like Ephedrine sounds classier. Ephedrine.
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 Yeah. I guess I say ephedrine or ephedrine.
Ephedrine.
But the dreen part, I don't know about that.
It's an American thing.
See, and this is coming from Matt Marshall. And for those who don't know Matt Marshall, this is like one of the smartest people I know. He's literally a member of Mensa. So like he's a certified genius. So yeah, it's funny.
We should be asking. I think we should be asking him.
Well, it makes me wonder, like, if he doesn't know the answer, then maybe it's one of the great unsolved mysteries. Or he's just testing us to see how dumb we are.
I've worked with Matt he's a client of mine. I've worked with him for probably like, I'm going to say 4 or 5 years now, something like that. He came up to visit you at the gym. He came up to, he was like, I'm going to make a pilgrimage early on.
Great guy.
Early in the West Coast Iron.
Like before COVID,
Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. It was good to see him. I remember when he walked in the door, I was like, hey.
He'd been listening to you since well before this podcast. Like he listened to Project Bodybuilding. Yeah. That's all we got here. That was it.
Oh, okay. Well, we want this to be a good. I got a few questions here.
All right.
Let me just find them. They were solid. Okay.
Gone are the days of 40-minute podcast, guys.
So I like this. This question was good.
Okay.
At what age should a person stop trying to use or learn new lingo?
Ooh. Did you realize that the term boomer came back? It's a very popular word now. Popular enough that I know it, you know.
They used to say baby boomer, but then it got shortened.
Just a boomer, and that's anybody, I think, who's older, you know? Not directly the baby boomer generation.
Yeah.
Are we too old to say boomer? I think
that's the funny thing is there's also someone else said to me the other day, I said something like, I wasn't sure about something.
Yeah.
So I said, I don't know. That's pretty sus.
Yeah.
And they looked at me and they go, oh, you're using all the new terms.
Oh.
And I go, what? And they go, sus. Isn't that one of the things the kids are saying now?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's like an Australian thing I got in the 90s.
Oh, no kidding.
My buddies would be like, oh, yeah, I smoked some weed, but it was kind of sus. I don't know what was in it, like suspect, suspicious. Yeah.
I don't hear that one. I guess, but I don't follow the lingo either.
I don't know if that one is suddenly being used again, but this person seemed to think it was. So I was like, oh, I don't know. That's me. That's old. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't pay attention personally though to that. Like the new, I wouldn't. I'm at a point where I don't try to work that stuff in. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, a lot of the new terms are made up words that don't even have meanings.
Yeah.
They refuse to define them. It's like, well, how can we use these words if they don't have meanings? But as far as, I'd say that the last new term, what's the last new term that you used? It'd have to be social media related.
Yeah. Anything like that would shorten, I don't know. I can't even think of it because if I used it, then it was just part of my regular daily thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't go out of my way.
I remember I had this buddy one time and he went away traveling somewhere.
Yeah.
And then he came back. Have you ever had a friend do that? And they come back with a new word and they constantly use it. And it stands out as so weird because you're like, what's this new word you picked up?
I told Victoria, I was like, what if I came back from England and I just started saying cheers and stuff like that all the time and acting like it was just my thing,
That's so funny because I say cheers all the time.
Some people can do it.
From Australia.
Yeah, some people can do it. You spent enough time there. Like I was gone for a week. And then I come back with if I came back with an accent,
I actually caught myself the other day. So I lived in Australia for 2 years in the 90s. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But there's a few things I still use the word sus, like suspect. And then I say cheers. I'm like, I sign my emails. I'm like, cheers.
Cheers. Some people can get away with that.
And I say to people, I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm out. Cheers. See you guys.
Yeah.
I'll say that. And then the other day I saw a friend of mine and I was like, oh, how you going? Like, how you doing?
How you going?
And I realized Yeah, and I realized they said, "How you going?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's so Australian. I can't believe that just came out of my
Oh,
mouth. Like what?"
yeah.
I was rattling around, and it just somehow got chosen to come out of my mouth at that moment. But I haven't said "How you going" in a while. You know?
Yeah. I've picked up some stuff because I talk with Dave Crossland a lot, where I'll say
Yeah.
things like "spot on." For instance, that's
Yeah.
one term that's very English, and I'll say that was spot on, or just certain things that I'll say that are not from here. I know I picked up from him, but I don't mean to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
That's
I
a
don't.
good question, though.
Yeah.
I think there's a point, like Bill Burr has that bit where he talks about as soon as you have kids, the bubble forms, and now you're in that bubble because you're busy with the kids.
Yeah.
So nothing new penetrates. You don't pick up any new music, any new lingo, nothing. You're wearing the same clothes. He says, and then 18 years later, the kids leave the house and you're still putting on your old records. He's like making fun of himself. And I think that is probably a bubble for everybody. Like when you hit a certain age, you're just like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is me now. These are the words I use and the music I listen to.
Did you see? I think it was Bill Burr. I don't really watch a lot of TV, but being on a plane, 2 trips that were like a decade long, I watched some of their TV shows. F is for Family. Have you seen that show? That's
I've
Bill
seen
Burr?
the first 2 seasons.
Okay,
Yeah.
I watched like 6 episodes in a row. It was a good show. I like that.
He said it's based on his childhood.
I could see that.
Like
Yeah.
that's because he kind of based the younger boy as him, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And
yeah.
and it's just it's funny. It's
Yeah.
it's pretty well done. So I remember someone asked him, they're like, why did you do a cartoon? And he's like, oh, a live action is my nightmare. he's like a sitcom is like a boat. It's great to be on someone else's, but you don't want to have your own.
Huh. Okay. Yeah.
And so he said when they talked to him about doing a sitcom, he's like, I'll only do it if it's voice only.
Okay.
I don't want to act it. I don't want to go through all that. It's fucking way easier to do animated.
I liked it. I like that show.
Yeah, it's funny.
I watched that, and then have you seen the finale of Stranger Things yet?
So I only did season 1.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I know. I had a few people lately ask me about this. I think it's because they just had Metallica on there, right?
I didn't
They just had Master of Puppets on there.
Yeah, and I didn't see the end yet, so I'm not sure exactly what happens. But yeah,
I remember a couple of my friends were upset because
don't tell me
they use
anything.
Master.
Okay.
No, I guess they use the song. They use the song Master of Puppets. But I have friends that are extremely sensitive Metallica fans. And technically, it's chronologically incorrect because the year of the show at this point is only like 1985
Okay.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Master of Puppets came out in 86 and it didn't really chart till 87. So they're like, they should have used Ride the Lightning.
Oh my God.
Fuck.
Yeah.
How could these guys do that? Master of Puppets wasn't out yet. This is not chronologically correct.
Oh my God.
Very
Yeah,
upset.
makes sense. Makes sense.
And then plus they're also upset because a lot of fans feel like Ride the Lightning doesn't get enough love. It's a fantastic album.
Yeah, it is.
Everyone skips Ride the Lightning, these fucks.
It's a good album.
Yeah. First world problems. That goes in the first world problem file.
I'm surprised you haven't watched that though, being that you enjoy a good show.
Yeah, no, I liked season 1. We just got busy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I got this other show I have to start because a friend of mine called me. Like,
What
I have
show?
I have a couple of very trusted friends, and this, one of my friends, Zach, he contacts me, and he just says, "Have you seen Severance?"
Severance, huh?
I'm like, "No," and he's like, "It's all you, buddy."
Click, and that's all you got.
Click.
He just
That's all I
calls,
gotta hear,
tells you
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Severance, yeah. So it was funny because then I'm driving, listening to Lithium, Sirius Satellite Radio, Lithium the other day,
Okay.
and they hardly talk on the it's nonstop radio, but whoever's show it was, a DJ at the time, she comes on and she's like, just rapped Severance or whatever,
Huh.
and said it was fucking awesome.
Okay.
So I gotta give it a watch.
Huh.
I'll just show everybody the poster.
Ooh. Huh.
So it looks interesting.
I also watched
we'll
several episodes of The Office on the plane, and then I got to watch it on the way back too. I forgot how good that show was.
Yeah. You know what? I still want to make myself watch the whole thing.
Okay.
Because there's a bunch of Office I missed, especially towards the end.
Okay.
But like first 4 or 5 seasons, I think I've seen them all.
I think that was the best, personally.
The dinner party episode where Michael and Jan have everybody over for dinner.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it's possibly one of the greatest television episodes of any show ever done.
That good to you, huh?
No, it is. And a lot of Office fans think it might be the greatest episode ever.
No kidding.
But there's just so many. It's so much to unpack. There's so much going on. Yeah, it's fantastic. Because, it's just the comedy of Michael and Jan, like everyone coming into their home and seeing how they live.
Yeah.
And there's just so many funny moments in that show where you're just like, holy fuck, it's pretty funny.
And every character in that show is good, like even the characters that don't have it, like Creed, he doesn't have a big part, but when he's there, or Meredith, they've always got something.
Have you seen what Creed has been doing?
No.
The actor who plays Creed? So there's like a running joke in The Office that I can't remember the Scranton Strangler. Isn't there like a serial killer?
Yeah, yeah.
And they never get caught, right?
I thought that he did, because I was watching some of those episodes, and Toby was on the. I don't know what ends up happening, but Toby was on the jury.
The jury.
That.
Yeah. So I think that guy gets off.
Okay.
But anyways, because the actor who plays. Sorry, who are we just talking about?
Creed.
Creed. The actor who plays Creed just put out like a few videos where he's like, the guy arrested for being the strangler has been acquitted. And then it shows him like leaving his house. He's like, so he's walking down the street like he's all cool, putting his shades on.
Yeah.
So he's like hinting that he's the strangler.
Oh,
Man.
Yeah,
it's pretty funny. Yeah, he's keeping the joke going.
That's cool. Yeah, that was such a good show, though. I forgot how good that was until I had nothing else to do but sit there for 9 hours at a time.
I love how Creed's backstory is that he used to be a bass player.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
And he actually was a bass player in a band.
Oh, no kidding.
Life. Yeah. So it's kind of funny. They like use certain things from people's real lives as their backstory.
Huh.
Okay. I guess it's my turn for one more.
Yeah. What do you got, man? You got some more of those Instagram questions you were saving, huh?
I do.
By the way, I should have probably said this earlier. If you guys want to take part in the next show, then comment. We'd be happy to take your questions next time around.
We didn't phone Dusty.
We didn't. Was there a point that you think we needed to?
No, but maybe. I'll just call him.
Yeah, we should maybe. But that question we had for you, that was something the show couldn't have gone on.
Let's just see what happens.
Yeah, let's see if he even answers.
Hello.
What's going on, buddy?
Tell him he's on the show.
Not much. We're getting situated in our room in the middle of nowhere. What's the word?
You're on live. We just thought we'd call and say hi. We're just about to wrap the show, but we just missed you so much.
Well, then I won't say fuck or anything like that.
Yes. We figured.
I tell you, I'm the main character, so I must took some trend before I got here.
There you go.
Good man.
The main character in your own life.
How'd it go?
Well, so
Beautiful.
far it's going really good. We just thought we were wondering if you were sitting on a beach with a margarita or what exactly was going on. Where are you? What's going on?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Uh-oh.
We lost him.
Uh-oh. It sounded like he was safe,
lost
at
him.
least.
I hope so.
I think so.
He didn't just get kidnapped, did he?
Yeah, judging by, well, maybe he did literally on the phone.
There's a bag over his head right now.
Yeah.
He's getting drug out of his hotel room.
It could be a good, continuation. Stay tuned to find out what happened to Dusty.
Perfect cliffhanger.
Yeah, what happened to Dusty?
I'm going to have to stay tuned to see if Dusty's on next week's show. Right?
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay. Well, Scott, give us a rundown. You're glad to be home. Everything's back to normal. You've recovered from your trip.
Yes. It's interesting to come back. The time difference, but good.
The time difference coming back is way worse. I find.
Yeah. I'll need time to reflect on that, I think, because I'm still kind of in it,
Okay. Well, we'll be back next week with Dusty, and we'll double episode it.
Sounds good.
So we'll be good to go. So thanks for everything. And remember, everybody, YouTube questions get prioritized. And then I'll be doing another Instagram, and so will Dusty. And what else we got to tell these people? Like, share, subscribe, comment.
And ring the bell.
There we go.
That wasn't as good as Dusty.
No, the timing was great. Timing was great.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was perfect. There's supposed to be a bit of a delay on that.
Yeah.
It's like a drummer who's just behind the beat a little. He's perfect. Okay, thanks, everybody. See you soon.
See you guys.